Hey, good morning, Colonial Beach. It's Friday. Hey, I just wanted to sit down and talk to Mike from Mayoral again, Mike Fitzpatrick. Mike and I have been talking about a few things this morning ourselves, and I'm just going to let him go because he really wants to talk about some positive things as far as our town goes and see where we're going to go in the future. So I'm going to let Mike talk about town growth and expansion and where he thinks that it's going to go.
Great. Well, thanks, Jim. Glad to have you back here again and the opportunity to address the town. So, happy Friday, Colonial Beach. But before I dive into my discussion about the position on town growth and expansion, I just want to close the loop on some of the Eleanor Park issues that were raised during my last video post. I just want to reiterate and assure you, I am not opposed to the concept of playgrounds or green space. What I am opposed to is the fact that a final resolution involving one of the most valuable pieces of town real estate was pushed through without being on the agenda ahead of the meeting and was not openly advertised for public comment. This was an important decision that the town citizens of Colonial Beach, I'm sure, would have wanted to participate in if they had known that the final resolution was being voted on that night and decided. I just fundamentally disagree with the way it was handled, and I can assure you that's not the way I would handle things as mayor. But today, really what I want to talk to you about are some positive things going on in town here. And most importantly, I'd like to talk about what I'm aware of in terms of future growth and expansion in Colonial Beach. And maybe to start off, I could give a little bit of background, Jim, on my history here in the beach, which might set the stage. So,
absolutely.
I was on the Planning Commission and was chairman in the early 2000s. And this was when the boardwalk condos and also the townhouse community across from the Food Lion were in the planning stages and being approved by the Planning Commission as well as by the town council, and things got underway with that. I have been supportive of town growth and expansion since my wife and I moved here in 1997. We had a vision for what Colonial Beach could become, and as long as these growth and expansion plans are aligned with the comprehensive strategic plan of the town, I'm on board with growth and expansion. From my meetings that I've had in town the last few weeks since I announced my mayoral campaign with town officials, I've actually learned a lot about multiple development projects that are in various stages of negotiation.
We'd love to hear about it.
With developers. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on them, but what I will say is that what's known as the Lennar project around 205, that would bring approximately 900 new houses into town is one of these projects. The development of let's call them the number streets on the north side of town, where there's a lot of land available for development there, as well as the downtown projects, one of them being associated with the riverboat and the expansion of their gambling capabilities there, bring a whole new set of opportunities to the town, as well as others that will improve the overall scope and appearance of the boardwalk and the downtown area there.
So let me ask you a question right there, Mike. So if we bring in new developments as far as homes and stuff goes, that actually brings us in more revenue as far as the town goes, and in reality, at that point, we may be able to see a decline as far as the tax that everybody
That's
pays.
exactly right, Jim. So the situation is that this town, the bulk of the revenues come from property taxes.
Yes, sir.
And if you can expand the tax base, which means more homes, more families, more real estate taxes that are being paid to the town here, it gives us the ability to support all of that without tremendous increase in infrastructure and not have to raise taxes on the rest of the citizens. So
I know a lot of the people that I talk to, that's always a hot topic for them.
And I totally agree. And I think with what some of the proposals that are on the docket here, it could significantly increase our tax base and eliminate the need to raise taxes in town. And the other point, though, is that this is a critical time for our town leadership to come together and put aside partisan disputes and begin working as a team. It's also a time to fully engage our citizens and make them aware of the development activities, of course, without breaking any confidentiality agreements that are maybe associated with negotiations that are going on. But nonetheless, we need to be open and transparent and let the citizens of Colonial Beach know about these projects as soon as we can so that their voices are heard and they understand where this fits with our comprehensive plan. It's also a time that we need a strong leader with extensive business and negotiation skills to engage these developers professionally while ensuring that the town's best interests are kept forefront in these negotiations. And it's not a time for emotionally based partisan politics. These developers are professional business people, and they'll see straight through well-meaning but inexperienced negotiators on our side. So to that point, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background in business and why I think that I'm the right person to be able to help the town right now. So I have over 40 years of business experience in the biotechnology field. I just recently retired in April of this year following a very successful $150 million IPO with the startup company that I was employed with in California as Vice President of Global Commercial Operations for them. This IPO enabled me to retire 4 years sooner than I had planned, and that's why I now have the time to be able to do this. Prior to that, I had 20 years with a Fortune 500 biotechnology company where I managed a global team of over 1,000 people and was responsible for annual revenues of greater than $2 billion. I've spent my entire career negotiating major government contracts with agencies like the NIH, with the Veterans Administration, with the CDC, and others. I've also been very involved in the pharmaceutical industry and negotiated global contracts with major pharmaceutical companies in North America, Europe, and in Asia. And so people have asked me, why haven't you been at town council meetings? I haven't seen you at town council meetings in years. The reason is that 15 years ago, I was promoted into a global role, and I have literally been traveling 48 out of 52 weeks every single year, Monday through Friday for the last 15 years. Wow. And when I came home on Friday night, I walked into our bed and breakfast, which Joan, my wife, was running, and worked side by side with her, taking care of guests all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then 4 a.m. back to Dulles Airport to fly off again. So yes, I've watched the YouTube recordings since they've been available, but I have not been able to physically be here for those meetings. But I was really active prior to getting promoted. For the 7 years prior to that, I was at nearly every single town council meeting and was an active participant, either as the planning commission chair or as a local citizen in being part of those meetings. We also were very active in the Chamber of Commerce. Joan was on a director's role with the Chamber of Commerce, and we were awarded the Business of the Year in 2002 by the Chamber. So I do care about the town. I do have roots here, and I have been very active and look forward to now having the time to give back to the town.
That passion shows, let me tell you.
And so, you know, I really just want to assure people I have the time, I have the energy, and I think most important, I have the experience in these critical years that are ahead of us here with the development and growth that's imminent in Colonial Beach. And I promise to be open and above board, and we'll do everything possible to execute our strategic business plan for the town and make Colonial Beach successful.
That sounds phenomenal, Mike. I just got a question for you. Can I come back from time to time if you want to update people, and we'll run through other things as far as what's happening with the town and what our future's looking like as you find out more information as you go on this journey to become our next mayor? I'd love to be able to come over and sit down with you.
I would welcome that, Jim, and I would got lots of things I'd like to talk about, and I'm certainly doing my diligence by meeting with town manager and a lot of the officials in town here to gain more knowledge so that I can be an effective
One other thing I want to do. What's your website?
Website is mikeforcbmayor.com.
mikeforcbmayor.com. There you got it. Thank you so much, Mike, for talking to us today. Go Drifters.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody.